Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Rebecca Turco in for Curtis McLeod. Time now for your top stories and weather in 90 seconds. Local veterans are back home after a special trip to Washington, D.C. They were greeted by a line of supporters at the Orlando International Airport late last night. Honor Flight Central Florida hosted the trip. Florida gas prices are inching downward this weekend. New numbers from AAA shows the state's average is just under $3.42. That's more than a quarter lower than the national average of $3.68. And a thrilling game in the swamp between USF and Florida came down to the last minute, but the Gators were able to hang on and win 31-28. Florida's next game is on the road against SEC rival Tennessee in Knoxville. Now let's get a check of the weather with certified meteorologist Amy Sweezy. Amy, is it a good-looking Sunday out there?
You know, it really kind of depends on where you are.
New this morning, veterans from here in Central Florida are back home after getting a huge welcome back following a special honor flight. They arrived late last night after a whirlwind trip to Washington, D.C. Our Celeste Springer joins us live from the Orlando International Airport. And Celeste, talk about what that celebration was for. Celeste, thank you. And today, Orange County will pay tribute to a deserving group of mothers and families, Gold Star families. They're those who have lost a loved one who was serving our country in war. Mayor Jerry Deming's Veterans Advisory Council held a virtual ceremony last year, but this year's tribute will be in person. It's an effort to help the community understand the impact on a family who's lost a service member. The last Sunday in September is designated as Gold Star Mother's Day. New information now in the fallout from Governor Ron DeSantis' involvement in flying 2 planes of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Attorneys representing more than 30 of the 50-some-odd migrants asked the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts and the state's Attorney General to open criminal investigations into the flights, calling the flights a political stunt. They said the migrants were influenced to board those planes under the idea they would be provided work assistance and immigration relief in Boston, and did not know they were being taken to Martha's Vineyard specifically. Governor DeSantis claimed he's had people in Texas for months identifying some 40% of migrants who wanted to go to Florida. The state legislature earmarked $12 million to relocate migrants. On Friday, he said he intends to use every penny of that taxpayer-funded program. The Biden administration is rolling back another hardline immigration policy enacted under the Trump administration. The White House recently took the final step to unwind former President Donald Trump's expansion of the so-called public charge policy. The policy sought to deny permanent resident status to anyone deemed to be a burden to the U.S. The expansion is now scheduled to end in December. The original public charge rule, which could reconsider citizenship for accepting welfare, will remain in place.
We want to see that and other policies and other barriers to benefits removed for low-income people of color. But we'll take this as a win in our broader fight.
The Texas Attorney General is leading a coalition of states urging the Supreme Court to strike down the Biden administration's rollback. This week, the first flights are set to fly in and out of the new Terminal C at Orlando International Airport. Airport leaders say the new tech features will help make travel more efficient. Check-in, security checkpoints, and baggage systems are all automated in Terminal C. And unlike the existing terminals, arriving passengers will go to the top floor to get their baggage. Aer Lingus is the first of several international carriers moving to the new terminal this week. Domestic carrier JetBlue will move there next week. Next, the community continues to come together to honor the boy who died after lightning struck while his rowing team was out in the water Thursday. Fellow rowers and loved ones gathered yesterday near Lake Fairview. They held a vigil in the middle schooler's memory. Not everyone knew the boy personally, but felt especially touched by the tragedy.
And I'm a grandmother of 2 middle school kids. And the idea that you just don't know what life holds is really heart-wrenching.
A second child hurt in the incident is identified as a middle schooler at St. Charles Borromeo Catholic School. The last update we have is from that school's principal back on Friday. That's when he said the child was in critical condition. A boil water notice advisory remains in effect more than 24 hours after a water service interruption impacted parts of Sanford. Here's a look at the impacted area. It includes all homes and businesses south of 25th Street and east of Old Lake Mary Road. It also includes all addresses east of Beardall Avenue. If you live in these areas, you should boil your water for at least 1 minute before drinking or cooking with it, or use bottled water. This will remain in effect until officials determine the water is safe to drink. Next, this weekend marks 126 years since 2 black men were wrongfully lynched in Volusia County. The Volusia Remembers Coalition held a special ceremony in Osteen yesterday to remember and honor those men who were brutally murdered. In each of these jars is the soil from where the lynchings happened. The organization says the water poured in is meant to signify a chance to grow from healing. Organizers say the idea behind this ceremony is to educate. They want to make sure we learn from our past so we don't repeat it.
Should not be afraid to talk about those things. And that is one of the concerns that I've had in the past, that there's a strong effort to say, let's not talk about it.
Along with the special ceremony to reflect and remember those lynching victims, they also honored more recent victims of violence.
I want to be able to be the bridge that takes the science that they're doing on these farms and in universities and bridge it to farmers that are producing the food that we're eating.
From the battlefield to the dinner table, how this former soldier's passion to help veterans is being recognized by the state. But first, let's turn to certified meteorologist Amy Sweezy. Amy, what can we expect as you step outside?
Well, not bad right now, but